What's going on, everybody? It's Noah Hanson. You know me from the OIC podcast and right here at A New Way with Noah. A New Way with Noah is my platform to share simple, applicable, life-changing principles and techniques that, when applied properly, will naturally, organically, and authentically aid you in resolving any and all setbacks in your life today. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about anxiety. And there's 3 steps that I want to go over to help you to resolve anxiety in your life, to help you address it, to help you do something about it, and to help you move forward in a way that's positive. So let's start off with number 1. Number 1 is you need to recognize what anxiety is and what anxiety isn't. So, anxiety is something that stems from things that are outside of us. Anxiety may feel like it's inside. We may have thoughts that create anxiety, but those thoughts are stemming from someplace outside of who we really are. It's not who we are authentically. And so what I mean by this is our natural state of being, when we are working at our best, when our minds, our bodies, and our spirits are working at their best, working at their most natural, they are in a state of positivity and not in a state of anxiety. That being said, stress and anxiety are something that trigger the fight or flight response. That's why when we have anxiety, oftentimes we're very energized. We are energized in a way that's not very healthy, though. And so our stress response, our fight or flight response, our anxiety is something that we really don't naturally need to have at any point unless we are being attacked, unless we are in real danger. So that's what anxiety and stress really are. That's where we get them from. In today's culture, at least here in America, we are force conditioned by the media, by social media, by Hollywood, by all types of different things. We are force conditioned to believe in certain things and different worldviews that really aren't true. And so when we come across posts and movies and different messages out there that are telling us that anxiety is something that you just have and you can never get rid of. It's something that if you have an anxiety problem, it's really something that's a brain chemical imbalance and it's something that you can never get rid of. That is not true. And I will straight up tell you that's just not true. We can actually change the DNA in our bodies. And us being able to change something as profound as DNA, something as complex as DNA, and something as important as the DNA, which is inside all of our cells, that means that we can also change the brain chemistry, because DNA is related to brain chemistry, and brain chemistry does relate to DNA. So if we can change our DNA, we can also change our brain chemistry. So that's something to be aware of. Anxiety is not an issue that you're born with and you will always have just because there's a chemical imbalance going on in your brain. And it may be difficult and challenging for some people to hear this, but my intention is not to hurt or harm you or to call you out on anything. My intention is just to tell you the truth. This is a scientific fact. Epigenetics says that we can change our DNA, and we therefore can change our brain chemistry. Our brains don't have to keep working in the way that they have been working. We have in fact been force conditioned by things outside of us that have gone inside of us, that we've allowed, that we've consumed. And what we consume ultimately becomes our reality. And when I say consume, I'm talking about things that we watch, things that we read, things that we think about. So not only can we get them from outside of us, but we can reinforce them with our thinking. We can actually start to have a belief set that lifts up or that reinforces anxiety in our lives. So when people are believing that they have this issue that they can never get rid of, it's just something that they're born with and they're always going to have panic attacks, anxiety, stress, depression, that's ultimately not true. You don't need to pop a pill to change your brain chemistry. That's another powerful truth. We don't need to pop pills to change our brain chemistry, but we can actually change our brain chemistry by choice. And this is what epigenetics shows. All right, so when addressing anxiety in our lives, there is now the second step that I want to tell you about, and that is to be able to rebuke it. So instead of telling ourselves the lie that we have anxiety, that we're anxious people, That's really not true. So many people, when they're talking to others, they say, I'm an anxious person, even when they're not feeling anxiety in that moment. So that goes to show, it's a belief, but it's not the truth. We are not authentically anxious people. Authentically, we are only set back or blocked temporarily by anxiety. So instead of saying the wrong wording, instead of telling ourselves a lie and telling other people lies about us, tell yourself, I'm having a temporary setback that's preventing me from being my authentic self at this moment. So that's a powerful principle. That is some rebuking words that you can use. You're separating yourself from anxiety. You're placing anxiety over here as a thing outside of you, but it's not a thing that is part of who you are. And so now I will be giving you the third step of addressing anxiety in your life. So earlier in this episode, I was talking about how we are force conditioned by things like the news media. We're force conditioned by the shows that we're watching. Even some books that we read could be causing anxiety in our lives. When we are addressing anxiety, the third step is to be able to balance our lives out. Balance the things that we think are causing anxiety in our lives with things that are allowing us to deal with anxiety, that are allowing us to feel feelings of positivity. And so if you get really, really good at this principle that I'm going to be introducing to you in this episode, then you can actually learn to, by choice, feel positive emotions. So before I get into that, I want to let you know that when we are dealing with news media, when we're dealing with different shows that we're watching, we need to really think about what those are doing for us. If they are something that's just pure entertainment, but it's presenting a certain worldview like the one I was talking about, if it's something that is like we're watching horror movies all the time and we love that feeling of fear, that's not all bad. But, there are people that watch horror movies in order to be able to better deal with fear in their lives, in order to sort of strengthen themselves up. But if we are really saturating our minds with this type of information, when we're saturating our minds with just entertainment, and we're going to a job that we really hate and coming back from that job and all we do is turn on the television and watch things that entertain us, that could be a source of anxiety in our lives. On top of that, there are frequencies that come from the television. That's why our parents say don't sit too close to the TV. When we are on our phones, there are frequencies that come off from the phones, and these frequencies, this blue light, will actually cause insomnia in some people. So we need to make sure that, apart from taking a break, just taking a break from that kind of source of information, the TV and the cell phones, we also need to make sure that we are watching or being aware of what we are watching on those things, what we are taking in on our devices and on the TV. So the news media, the mainstream media, is all very, very negative. There's a lot of negativity that's portrayed on those in the world, and it can make people feel scared about the world that they're living in, even though they're really not in any real danger at that moment. And like I said, anxiety is a response, a fight or flight response that we only need really when we are in true danger of, a saber-toothed cat outside of us that's about ready to pounce. So on top of that, take a break and spend some time in nature. Go ground yourself. Go walk with your bare feet on the grass and allow yourself to soak in the frequencies that are good for our bodies instead of the frequencies that aren't so good for our bodies, which are the electromagnetic fields generated by our cell phones, the TV, all that kind of stuff. The blue light is not really good for us in large amounts. So we need to make sure, balance that out. Get some time in nature, breathe fresh air. Be able to spend some time with family and loved ones, doing something other than just sitting on your devices with them. Really talk to them. Be able to allow yourself to, if you need to talk about anxiety, talk to anxiety with someone who loves you unconditionally. Be able to tell God about your anxiety. That's a very powerful one because you don't even need to deal with the fear of someone judging you. You have an unconditionally loving God who is present all the time, everywhere, that's ready and willing to take the burden of your anxiety, and so you can be authentic again. There are many ways that we can have this emotional release, whether it's in prayer or with a family, friend, or loved one, or, spending some time in nature, whatever it is. Be able to balance that out with the things that are causing anxiety in your life that could be the media that you're watching, the shows that you're watching, all that kind of stuff. And social media could be one of them as well. Different worldviews being presented to you that are not necessarily true. All right, now, like I said, I'm going to give you the process that can actually cut anxiety and depression in half in as little as 6 weeks. So I already presented this to you in the past episode, which was learning heart-brain coherence. When we are in a heart-brain coherent state, we are naturally more positive. We have positive emotions, positive feelings, and positive thoughts. So when we have heart-brain coherence, we can actually, by choice, do this 3 simple step process in order to bring about heart-brain coherence and naturally feel better about who we are as people, naturally feel better about the world that we're living in, naturally feel better about the emotions that we're feeling, naturally feel better emotions. So make sure that you learn those 3 simple steps. Watch that video, Learning Heart-Brain Coherence, and I will have that in the description below for you so that you can just click away right when you're done with this video. I want to thank you for watching this video. It's humbling to me, but it's also a feeling of joy that I get from this because people are seeing the value in what I have learned and what I have been taught so that now I can teach it to you. And so, one more thing is have a mentor, have a coach, have a loved one that loves you unconditionally, that you can talk about anything with them and that they will not judge you for it. You could say the worst thing that you've ever done in your life to them, and that they would still have love for you. Me personally, I have a mentor that I've known for a good 3 years now, and his name is Kevin Peterson, and he is the co-host of the OIC podcast, a great mentor of mine. He's got a life coaching business. He's a master certified life coach, and he's allowed for me to now become a master certified life coach myself. I am now able and certified to be able to do the same thing for you. So if you'd like to reach out to Kevin Peterson, you can find him at our website, inanewway.com. You can also reach us at oicadvantage@inanewway.com. And then my personal email is anewwaywithnoah@gmail.com. I will put the manifestation episode of the OIC podcast, the 3 lies that we've all been told, and finally the Heart-Brain Coherence episodes in the description so you can find those and follow up with those. That's going to really help also with addressing anxiety in your life. And not only that, but also being able to aid you in being your authentic self every single day, every single moment, so that you can live your best life possible. Thank you for watching.